The Olympic debut for U.S. speed skater Jordan Stolz turns golden as a 21-year-old wins in dramatic fashion.
He was lagging a little bit when he was finishing up his first lap in this 2.5 lap race, and he pumped really hard, went straight through the finish line, and when he looked up, he had a new Olympic record.
Plus, the one winter event that the U.S. has yet to win a medal. Could this year be their best opportunity yet? And what about the moment when one Olympian openly admitted to cheating? Get this. Not on the course, but on his now former girlfriend.
I don't want to think I didn't try everything.
And this is a fun one. The events you won't be seeing this Olympics. I'm A Martínez, and this is Up First Winter Games. It's Thursday, February 12th, and here's what you need to know. There's developing news out of the International Olympic Committee today, where it's handed down a decision banning a Ukrainian skeleton athlete from competition. Vladyslav Heraskevych is accused of violating the IOC's policy on making political statements in the field of play. He planned to wear a helmet featuring Ukrainian coaches and athletes killed in Russia's war with Ukraine in Thursday's competition. NPR's Brian Mann filed this report on the move shortly after the decision was made.
Heraskevych refused to back down. He's posted repeatedly on social media that he would fight this to the end. He said this was a price he's willing to pay. And so this Ukrainian sledder is out of the race. This comes at a time when most Russian athletes are not here because the IOC has implemented strict rules on their participation. Normally, Russia, of course, a winter sports powerhouse, they have only about 13 athletes here this year. But the Russia-Ukraine war continues to have a huge impact on winter sport.
Heraskevych was expected to be a strong medal contender these games. It was a 1-2 finish for the U.S. after a huge upset in freestyle skiing. Americans Liz Lemley with the gold and Jalen Koff with the silver. They both beat out frontrunner Jakara Anthony from Australia, and it was the first time the U.S. finished in the top two slots in that event. Meanwhile, two-time defending Olympic champion Chloe Kim laid down a monster run in the women's halfpipe, putting to rest any doubt about her ability to perform after that shoulder injury that she suffered heading into the games. Her teammate, Maddie Mastro, rounded out the top three in the qualifying round. U.S. speed skating phenom Jordan Stolz took to the ice for the first time at these Winter Olympics, and he did not disappoint. The 21-year-old from Wisconsin won gold in the 1,000 meters, setting a new Olympic record. NPR's Huang joins us now to catch us up on all things speed skating. So first things first, I got to get something out of the way first. Okay, I'm a big fan of speedsters, of superhero speedsters. So like think of the Flash and Quicksilver. So by that reasoning, I love watching the speed skaters. They're my favorite thing in the entire Winter Olympics. Now, one of the things that I noticed with Team USA, Pien, is that their uniforms look very, very similar to something that Captain America would wear. It's all blue with little red and white stripes, a big star on the upper part. I mean, am I seeing things? Please tell me I'm not, because otherwise I'm going to go crazy here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have been very coveting these onesies that everyone is wearing here at the Olympics. Belgium is a personal favorite of mine. They have a really cool kit with all these stripes on them. But for me, it was giving more Frozen from The Incredibles. But I also have to agree with you that all the stars, stripes, red, white, and blue on the USA kit is giving also Captain America.
Yeah, I can see Chris Evans out there on the ice at some point. Well, if he has the ability. Now here's the thing. Jordan Stolz, I mean, he definitely has the ability. You were in the arena. Tell us all about what you saw.
Oh my God, it was incredible, So the crowd was electric, first of all. And just for some context, usually, when I go to these events, it's like a sea of orange because speed skating is a huge sport for the Dutch. And so they are turning out in full force. You usually don't hear huge cheers for athletes that are not necessarily from the Netherlands or from Italy. But the exception last night was Jordan Stolz. He got enormous cheers from the crowd when he stepped on the ice, and he did not disappoint. He was lagging a little bit when he was finishing up his first lap in this 2.5 lap race. But, he dug in, threw down both arms, and he, pumped really hard, went straight through the finish line. And when he looked up, he had a new Olympic record. He now holds both the Olympic record and the world record in the 1,000 meter.
Yeah, and he's not just chasing medals in this Olympics. I mean, he's chasing all-time history.
Absolutely, yeah. So he is trying to do something that has not been done since Eric Heiden in the 1980s. He is trying to win 4 individual gold medals at the Winter Olympics for an American. Eric actually won 5 of them in 1980 in Lake Placid, so that is something that has not been repeated since then. Right now, Stolz is a quarter of the way there. So he is also heavily favored to win in his next 3 events, the 500 meter, the 1500 meter, and also in the mass start event.
That's going to be the only thing holding him down is all those gold medals. If he wins them, right? That's the only thing that could possibly slow this guy down.
He's amazing.
Yeah, women's team, though, they got off to a bit of a tough start.
They have, yeah. So there are a few defending medalists on the U.S. women's speed skating team. Both of them did not end up medaling at the women's 1,000 meters on Monday. So Brittany Bowe is the current world record holder in that event, and she came in 4th on the podium, just a fraction of a second behind the bronze medal skater who was from Japan. And Erin Jackson finished 6th in that event. So both of them still have a couple more opportunities to medal at the games here. Both Jackson and Bowe will be skating again on Sunday in the 500 meters. This is Jackson's specialty event. She won the gold medal at the 2022 Olympics in that. And then Brittany will also be skating both in the 500 and in the 1500 meters. These are Brittany Bowe's last games, and so I'm sure she'll be giving her best in these games. She's going to be retiring at the end of the season.
And the other thing, too, is that overall, it does seem like this is a very deep Olympic field. I mean, records are being broken all over the place.
It's true, yeah. I mean, so far in these games, there have been 5 Olympic records set. All of them have been in speed skating. 4 of them have been in long track. 1 of them has been in short track. And it's just been really incredible to watch. I mean, I've been asking around, trying to figure out, like, what it is about these games. Is it the ice? Is it the athletes? And so far, what I've learned is that it's a little bit of both. You know, like, the ice is obviously smooth and flat and, you know, grippy and slidey, all in the right ways. And also, what I've been hearing is that these are just really incredible speed skaters that are showing up these games, and they're in peak performance shape.
Okay, now I want to slow it down a bit to get to some different kinds of skaters, not as fast as the speed skaters, but definitely as exciting. Ice dancing, because there's a U.S. medal in ice dancing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Madison Chalk and Evan Bates won the silver medal last night. And I have to say, this was kind of a bittersweet victory because they were favored to win the gold. They gave a great performance. They were in first place after they performed their free dance routine to Paint It Black from the HBO sci-fi series Westworld. But next up was the French team of Laurence Fournier-Boudret and Guillaume Cizeron. They also performed a lovely routine, even better according to the judges, and they edged out the Americans by 1.5 points.
All right, that's NPR's Pien Huang. Thank you very much.
Thanks, A.
Support for Up First Winter Games comes from NPR sponsor Allianz Travel Insurance. Get ready to give ordinary the cold shoulder with protection for adventures that give you the best kind of chills. Learn more at allianztravelinsurance.com.
Okay, let's talk biathlon. You know, that's the sport where you ski as fast as you can, and then you try to shoot a target while your heart is pounding out of your chest. Yeah, no big deal, right? Well, it's an event that has long been dominated by the European powerhouses, such as Norway, France, and Germany. In fact, it's one of the few Winter Olympic sports where the U.S. is still chasing its first medal. Could this be the year when the U.S. has a chance? NPR's Becky Sullivan has been watching the team closely and joins us now. So, Becky, biathlon events have begun, which is one of my favorite sports to watch because it looks so intense, and the different things they do are just unbelievable that human beings could actually put the ability and coordination together all at once.
Yeah, exactly. This is the sport that combines cross-country skiing and target shooting. These athletes have to do a transition from a super hard, super intense cardio activity, doing this like insane cross-country sprinting up hills and so on, to figuring out a way to like lower their heart rate, slow everything down, get ready to then shoot these targets with a rifle. The targets are just 2 or 4 inches across, so obviously the precision is really important. It's like a super challenging thing, and I think it's very fun to watch.
Yeah, and what's its history?
It comes out of military stuff, as you'd expect in Norway. There was this tradition of military ski patrols, and that actually turned into a competition there. Eventually, an early Olympic sport in sort of the first half of the 20th century, where you had these teams of 4 military, patrol members who not only had to do the skiing and the shooting, but they also had to carry loaded packs. That only lasted a little bit of time in that sort of early Olympic form, but then after World War II, it was reestablished in its like modern form as the current biathlon.
All right, so what are the United States' chances of getting a medal this year in biathlon?
Well, I would say there is just an outside chance for the U.S., but that is a big deal because the U.S. has never won a biathlon medal. And in fact, It's the only Winter Olympic sport in which that's true. Over time, the U.S. has won like 330 plus Winter Olympic medals, and none in the biathlon. But things are a little different this year, especially because just the best biathlete, essentially, who has ever competed for the U.S. is on the team. His name is Campbell Wright. He's a 23-year-old, dual national, actually. He was born in New Zealand. He competed in the 2022 Olympics as a 19-year-old for New Zealand, but New Zealand doesn't have a biathlon team. He found it really hard to sort of train full year around. He wasn't getting the resources that he wanted to sort of seriously pursue his ambition as a biathlete. And so because his parents are both American, he was able to make the jump over to Team USA in the last few years and train full time with Team USA. And now he is an American athlete. He's here at the Olympics. And I think he's the one who has a shot if anybody's going to do it. He's currently ranked number 10 in the World Cup standings. He's got a chance.
What about Deidre Irwin? Does she have a chance?
Yeah, Deidre Irwin is the other sort of most prominent, I think, U.S. biathlete, and that is because she came in 7th place in the women's individual event in 2022 at the 2022 Games in Beijing, which is the best individual finish any American biathlete has ever had in the Olympics. So the best the U.S. has done is 7th place. So that was Deidre. She is currently ranked in the 30s in the World Cup standings, and so she, to reach that 7th place finish in 2022, that was a real stunner, even for her. She has said that, and so she wasn't able to repeat that in the women's event on Wednesday at the Olympics, but she still has a shot. She still has a chance. So we'll just have to see how it plays out for her.
If they win a medal, if anybody on Team USA wins a medal, do you think that might make biathlon a sport that people want to participate in more in America?
I mean, who knows? I hope so. It's just like an incredibly difficult sport, I will say, like as we were talking about earlier. Obviously, you have to compete on snow when you're competing in the winter. And in the summer, these guys train on like roller skates. And so I've seen some videos of them just like on these loops, hilly roads, in parks and in training centers and so on, with poles and the roller skates. It looks so hard. It looks so challenging. They just look exhausted all the time. It's kind of like the cross-country ski races you see at the Olympics when people cross the finish line and they just collapse and they've got this sort of like frozen spit and sweat coming off their faces. That's kind of what biathlon is like too. So I don't know. I think so though. It would certainly raise the profile and maybe make some kids more interested. Hard to say.
Spit and sweat on my face. That sounds like me running a quarter mile. So maybe I'm the next biathlete that the U.S. has been waiting for. You don't have to disagree that quickly, Becky. My goodness. Now, there's a biathlon story that has gone viral all over the world. And it's from Norway's Sturla Holm Legrid. After he won the bronze in the 20-kilometer individual race earlier this week, he was asked about how he was feeling about it by a Norwegian TV reporter. He started off by thanking all the people that support him, but then he got really emotional and he admitted right there on live Norwegian TV that he had cheated on his girlfriend. And okay, so that was strange enough as it is. Then he was asked about it about an hour later at a press conference. Let's listen to that.
So today I made the choice to tell the world what I did. So maybe there's a chance that she will see what she really means to me, and maybe not, but don't want to think I didn't try everything to get her back. So again, Johan, I don't want to steal the show today. I hope this is just like a day or two long thing, and then your Olympic gold medal is forever.
So there he is talking about not wanting to steal the show, hoping that it'll die down. It has not. His former girlfriend has said that it'll be hard to forgive him. She wants to stay anonymous. I can't blame her because now the world is interested in her. But one of the things, Becky, that made this really interesting for me, in that I remember when I was, dealing with athletes every day, when I traveled with the Dodgers and I also had a job with the Lakers doing their pre and post game shows, I know a lot of people who had really rough personal lives, but they were able to block it all out and perform on the field like this biathlete did. I mean, he obviously had this on his mind and on his heart, but he was still managed to have a performance good enough to win a bronze medal. So that's just amazing to me that these athletes can have everything going maybe possibly wrong in their life, yet they still are focused on the goal.
Without a doubt, that's all definitely true. And then the emotional release at the finish line, that's something I've seen a lot just being here this past week. Obviously, you get across that finish line. It's something that you've been working your entire life for most of these athletes, something that they do spend every hour of every day just organized around trying to achieve their dream of winning a medal at the Olympics. Across the finish line, it's all done. And the whole thing is this huge emotional release for them. They often can't control their emotions in that moment, whether that's like some happiness, whether that is devastation at just missing out. I've seen athletes cry this week. I've seen athletes, jump for joy. So yes, I'm not surprised. This guy sounds a little chaotic, I must admit,
Yeah. NPR's Becky Sullivan. Thanks a lot, Becky.
You're welcome.
There are 16 different sports at these Olympics, lots of variations on the theme of skating, skiing, and snowboarding, but there's no dog sledding or horses. However, there used to be. Rachel Treisman is here to talk about Olympic events from days gone by. So, Rachel, let's start with something, and I'm going to need your help on pronouncing this. I'll give it a try first. Ski-joring, ski-yoring, what's the closest pronunciation? Am I even anywhere in the ballpark?
I'll be honest, I only just learned about this word and this entire sport, so I'm not totally sure, but the internet says ski-joring.
Ski-joring, okay.
I heard the person I talked to about it said ski-joring, but I'm not sure that he was an expert either in the sport itself, so let's say ski-joring/ski-joring.
All right, maybe that's why it's not an Olympic sport anymore. No one knew how to pronounce it or settle on a pronunciation, but tell us what it is.
Sure. So I've heard it described as a combination of ski racing, rodeo. Picture this. A skier is holding on to the reins. The reins are attached to either a horse, a pony, or dogs, and they're gliding across a frozen lake. This made its debut, first and only appearance, in the 1928 Olympics. It was across a frozen lake and horses were involved. It did not stick around in the Olympics, obviously, but in my research, I found that it's kind of having a resurgence in western parts of the U.S., so like Utah, Wyoming, Colorado. So anyone there, if you're hearing this, please correct my pronunciation and tell me more about it.
All right, now what about dog sledding? I mean, you would think that would have been a part of the Olympics at some point.
Another great sport involving dogs that we don't have in the Olympics anymore. That appeared in Lake Placid in 1932, kind of a nod to the sport's North American roots. There were about a dozen US and Canadian mushers racing across 25 heats spread over 2 days. And a report I found from the Times said that crowds gathered to watch them cross the finish line. And when they did, some of the dogs were so tired that they were riding on the sleds instead of pulling them.
Wow.
Maybe a reason it didn't come back.
Well, I hope the dogs at least got the medal, not the person that they're pulling. I mean, it would only be fair, right?
Well, I talked to Olympic historian Bill Mallon about this. I ran into him at the media center the other day, and he actually has a passion for this very question. He's trying to dig up all the names of the dogs that participated. He called it his white whale as a historian. So he said he's found about 10 names of the dogs that participated out of probably, he thinks, close to 90. But I should say, if you are bummed that you don't get to see dog sledding in the Olympics, just remember there are a lot of long distance endurance competitions in the sport today. A bunch of them are in North America. Think about the Iditarod, the Yukon Quest. So it's not totally a thing of the past.
All right, Rachel, so there's a sport called bandy, which I understand is in the hockey family. Tell us about bandy.
Yeah, I saw it compared to, let me make sure that I get this right, field hockey on skates with very ancient roots. Apparently, an Egyptian cave painting depicted some version of it like 4,000 years ago, but the sport that we're really talking about, the Olympic version, I think originated closer to the 1800s out of England, and it was really popular in Europe. It made its Olympic appearance in 1952 in Norway, I believe. That was it. The sport is still around today, but it looks like it didn't really take off in the US. But, Russia, Scandinavian countries, they have all been playing it, and it's pretty popular there, I hear.
So bandy, not so dandy in the U.S.
I mean, I think we have a lot of hockey to pay attention to, at least right now.
That's right. Okay,
no
fine.
offense to bandy.
No offense at all. All right, what about ski ballet? Because that sounds beautiful.
Ski ballet, also known as acro ski, which I also really like the sound of. I think what's funny about this one is the name really does describe what it is. But let me take you through it. It's kind of like figure skating in that it's scored by judges, it was set to music, and of course, like the costumes and the moves are everything. Lots of flips, lots of choreography. This sport was sort of in the family of freestyle skiing, which I learned came out of the counterculture movement of the 60s and 70s. It popped up at the Olympics in the late 80s and early 90s, so it had 2 Olympic turns, but then it kind of fizzled out, not just from the Olympics, but from international competition and from sporting in general. The nice thing there is, of course, there's tons of freestyle skiing still in the Olympics today, but I would love to see acro ski / ski ballet with my own eyes.
Now, Rachel, a lot of the sports we talked about just didn't last very long at the Olympics. What are some of the reasons for that?
A lot of these sports were never supposed to stick around. They were technically considered demonstration sports, so they weren't being officially added to the Olympic program forever. They were being sort of tacked on alongside the games in any given year as a way to promote the sport or, pay tribute to the host country. Think again about sled dogs in Lake Placid. But a lot of them popped up once, maybe twice, and then, weren't officially submitted for inclusion. That involves a formalized process through the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, to add and drop sports. But a lot of these demonstration sports we see after World War II. I talked to, again, historian Bill Mallon. He said the practice started with the very first Olympic Games in the very first Winter Olympics in 1924. They've been going on for much longer than that, but they really became the norm after World War II, and they kind of happened to every Olympics after that until 1992. That was the last year that we had demonstration sports. It was also the last year that we had a Winter and a Summer Games in the same year.
All right, that's NPR's Rachel Treisman. Rachel, thanks.
Thanks.
That's Up First Winter Games for Thursday, February 12th. I'm A Martínez. We'll see you right back here Thursday and most days during the Olympic Games. Have a gold medal day.